Okay, hi everyone. It is 1 p.m. Mountain Time, so we are going to go ahead and get started with this virtual forum. My name is Lori Peak, and I am the director of the Natural Hazard Center at the University of Colorado Boulder. And I also serve as the principal investigator for the National Science Foundation supported Converge facility, as well as for the Social Science Extreme Events Research Network. And I am so pleased to welcome you all here today for this virtual forum. And at the outset, I just wanted to say that this forum is being recorded, and we will post it on the Converge Virtual Forums page soon after this meeting concludes. I also wanted to ask that if everyone could please mute your microphones just in the interest of background noise. But as we progress through this forum today, I will stop sharing my slides at various points so we can actually see one another, because one of the purposes of these forums is to allow us to communicate so we can better coordinate and ultimately collaborate as a community. And so again, it is my pleasure to welcome you here today, both for a virtual forum focused on the December 10th through 11th, 2021 tornado outbreak in the central and southern United States, as well as to discuss a recently released special funding call focused on tornado-ready quick response research. Before proceeding much further, I want to say a few words about the Social Science Extreme Events Research Network. We are one of 7 research and reconnaissance networks supported by the National Science Foundation. Our social science network was launched in 2017, and over the years since, 1,420 social scientists have joined the SSEER network, which is dedicated to identifying social scientists who study hazards and disasters, building connections between our social science community and our partners, and also to amplifying and advancing the important social science research that is occurring in our hazards and disaster field. And so to our SSEER members, welcome today, and to our partners and collaborators, thank you for being here as well. And so we have 1 hour together today, and we have 2 big things that we're looking to accomplish during this forum. And so for the first 30 minutes or so, we're actually going to hear from our program directors at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, as well as the National Science Foundation, as well as from the Deputy Administrator from the Natural Hazard Center, about funding opportunities for social science and interdisciplinary research. And in particular, we will be discussing our special call for proposals for tornado-ready quick response research, which we are so excited about, as this is going to really provide us a groundbreaking opportunity to use the same survey instrument across multiple tornado events, as you're going to hear about shortly. So the first half of the forum will be dedicated to talking about that funding call and to hearing about other opportunities from NSF. And then during the latter part of the forum, we're going to be hearing from those of you on this call. And in particular, our goal during the latter half is to communicate about research that is already launched or that is planned in response to the December 10th through 11th, 2021 tornado outbreak. And so our purpose, as always with these forums, is to focus on ethical considerations, research priorities, and to learn about available resources that may be of use to our SSEER community and to our partners. We're also going to proceed with the following process that we've really used on these prior virtual forums, where we'll first hear from locally affected researchers, so researchers who are in the areas that were most directly affected by these tornado outbreaks. Then we will hear from researchers, whether inside or outside of the zone, who've already launched investigations. We'll also hear from some folks who have some resources and information to share. And then any remaining time will be dedicated to hearing ideas about potentially planned investigations. And so without further ado, we're now going to turn to part 1 of this virtual forum. And I'd like to ask that everyone, we're going to hear from 3 different speakers, Gina, Jen, and then Jack. And so we'll hold questions while each of the 3 speakers are going through their brief remarks and comments and the information that they want to share. But if you have questions as the speakers are speaking, feel free to go ahead and drop those in the chat box, and we've reserved time for questions after our initial presentations. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now, and I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Gina Iesco, who serves as the Social Science and Facets Program Manager at NOAA. And she's going to talk to us about the broader vision for the Weather Ready Research Program that has been initiated between NOAA, NSF, and the Natural Hazard Center, as well as talk to us about this special funding call you're going to hear about today. So Gina, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lori, and thank you for your continued leadership on this. It's just a pleasure to work with you and to meet all of you virtually. And so first, I'd like to say just thank you to all of you for the research that you do. Thank you for your compassion to the survivors of these just feels like repeat disasters. I'm not even in the field, and I feel it from a headquarters perspective. So your compassion to survivors and your willingness to learn about these disasters and share them with us, just want you to know that we greatly appreciate you. That's first and foremost. As Lori said, thank you for that lovely introduction. I am the Social Science Program Manager within the Weather Program Office in NOAA Research. I don't want to claim that I am the Social Science Program Manager of all things NOAA, although I do coordinate quite a bit, but we are in the Weather Program Office. We have a great need, we've realized over the last few years, not only to advance research, but to advance research in a way that allows us to sustain what we've learned. And one of the ways that we've thought about this is through the preservation of data and different types of data, both longitudinal data as well as quick response. Pardon, okay, just seeing if there were questions there. And so, you know, when we looked at our capabilities within our own agency for quick response research, we went, well, we don't really have full capabilities, but there's this really wonderful organization who does. And the National Science Foundation has funded the University of Colorado and the Natural Hazard Center to be that resource for a variety of agencies. And we thought it a good steward of that to be one of those agencies to help continue that effort. And so we funded what we're calling Weather Ready Research. It's a series of calls of the one of which we're talking about today is the third in that series. One of the reasons why we love working with the Natural Hazard Center is not only their capability and resources as it relates to quick response research, and of course the network that they bring, which is of course all of you. We're so appreciative of that. And also their ability to nurture this preservation of data through publication of data and instruments. As you may know through other NOAA funding calls, we focus a lot on transitions and applications, and that can be rather difficult to think through in the social and behavioral sciences. One way that we are trying to think that through is through the use of sharing data and instruments, because our physical science colleagues could benefit from that interdisciplinary nature, right? Combining that data set. And so we find this relationship to be particularly fruitful for those reasons. The current call is focused on tornado ready research. Unfortunately, our colleague, Dr. Kim Klockow, was unable to be with us today, but I'm going to channel her as best I can. She and I are both very energetic, so I will try to channel her energy for those who know her well. The reason for this third call, the timing, actually, I just want to share is just sort of uncanny. We were working on this prior to the events that unfolded, and it was not at all actually tied together, but it just, the timing, it couldn't be perhaps beneficial in terms of studying these events. I say that again with a heavy heart to those that have been impacted and have survived these direct events. So a little bit of background on it. Many of you probably know even more than I do that we experience over 1,000 tornadoes per year across the United States. Every year, 1,000. And yet what we know about how people receive, interpret, and respond to tornado information, we don't have exhaustive information on that, longitudinal data, systematic data in that area. And so we're struggling to know where perhaps might we have areas of improvement, where are there opportunities for excellence, is a phrase that we like to use, that area for where could we contribute the most. So through the National Severe Storms Laboratory, in partnership with the new Cooperative Institute, which acronym is CERO. I think I'm saying that right. Please don't ask me for the full acronym at this moment. We'll put it in the chat in the moments to come. I admit my memory is still not good on that. Dr. Kim Kloko's leadership, they developed this instrument. And the reason for it, this tornado post-event survey, to allow potentially for this routine collection of information. They put a lot of thought into it, but they haven't piloted it. And so we thought that this opportunity through this call could be a way to pilot such an instrument, an opportunity for us to collect systematic data. We may learn that parts of it work, parts of it don't. We're welcome to feedback. We're really welcome to reactions on this. So those of you who have also been thinking about this, that's great. We don't need to have just one. We may need to learn from many places, but we need one pilot study at the very least for us to give it a go and to get some of that collective feedback. And so the information here, again, collected will be used as part of a pilot study to explore methods more systematically in collecting post-event data to support things like program evaluation for things like the tornado watch warning system, which, as you know, is a critical component of the National Weather Service and how we convey that critical risk information. I think I've been even longer than I was expecting to be, so let me pause there and hand it off, I think, Lori, to Jennifer. Is that correct? Okay, great.
Gina, thank you so much for that overview and for the support. And Corey, thank you for role modeling. Corey just dropped a question in the chat. And so if others have questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. Jen's going to go next with an overview of the call, then followed by Jack, and then we'll start taking the questions in order. So Corey, we'll start with yours once we hear from Jen. So Jen and Jack. So Jen, over to you next. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Lori. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the call today. I have the privilege of administering all of our research award programs, and I would like to just spend a few minutes going over the logistical details of this specific special call for proposals. First, the special call is currently open and will run through October 31st, 2022. This means that you're welcome to submit a proposal at any time over the next 9.5 months. But please make sure and read the full special call guidelines before submitting the proposal. Once you submit your proposal using our online submission form, it will go immediately through an internal review process by the Natural Hazard Center team, as well as be externally reviewed by NOAA Weather Ready experts. Please note that data collection may not begin until you've received a formal approval email from the Natural Hazard Center and all required documents are signed and submitted. This special call will fund approximately 10 to 20 awards in the amount of $1,000 to $7,500, but please note that any submissions with budgets over $7,500 will be returned without review. Okay, so as Gina explained, this special call is focused on post-tornado investigations. This means that you may not submit a proposal until after a tornado occurs. And as a requirement of this award funding, data must be collected within 60 days of that tornado event occurring. And we are offering a 90-day window for those interested in studying the December 10th and December 11th tornado outbreak. All research proposals that are submitted must include the use of the NOAA Tornado Post-Event Survey, as Gina explained. However, we do invite you and we highly recommend that your proposal include plans for additional research beyond the collection of the survey data. And priority will be given to proposals that focus on one or more of the areas outlined in the special call for proposals. We have some additional focus areas there you can read about. Okay, some quick considerations for this call. This special call does have a quick response timeframe. Therefore, please make sure and include a clear timeline in your proposal that is feasible for data collection, analysis, publication, and report writing within the required timeframe outlined in the special call. Please note that in some cases, researchers may need to begin collecting data prior to funding being issued. We will not extend deliverable deadlines due to any delays in funding. So we have to process the payments to the university and you'll receive those payments, but because of that 60-day window, you may need to get into the field more quickly in some cases, depending on what that time frame is. Also, data collection may not begin until we receive a letter of IRB approval or exemption from your university. Therefore, we really highly recommend getting a pre-approval from your IRB, and we've written an article about that that's linked out on our special call webpage, as well as in these slides here. Just so please note that the lead investigator of any of these proposals must be from an academic institution based in a US state, territory, or tribal area. Additional collaborators are welcome to be from private organizations, from universities outside the US, but the lead investigator must be from a US-based institution. Award funding can be distributed across up to 5 people that are identified in the award agreement. And once all IRB approval and award agreement documents are submitted, payments will be sent directly to the individuals on the proposal that are designated as award recipients. These will not be sent through university processes. And then finally, the project deliverables for these awards are, as Gina kind of explained, data publication. So the data from the NOAA Tornado Post-Event Survey must be published on DesignSafe, and you must submit a data publication checklist that we will provide for you. Also, Maria Esteva from DesignSafe is actually on this call today. So if you have any questions for her, please drop those in the chat box, and she'll be able to answer those later in the call. In addition to the data publication and data publication checklist, you must submit within 6 months of your award approval. You must submit a final report to the Natural Hazards Center, and we have a report template and style guide on our website. And this is a 20-page double-spaced report that we will publish on the Natural Hazards Center website. If you have any additional questions about any of this, please feel free to contact me at has.research.awards@colorado.edu. And of course, visit our online special call, which has all the information you'll need to submit a proposal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, and thank you for all the time, effort, care, and collaboration with NOAA to get this call live in a timely manner. So thank you. And now we're going to turn over to Jack Mazzaros from the National Science Foundation, who just shared a link with us for NSF Rapid Awards. And so Jack, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to follow on and build on the opportunities that are being created for you through the Natural Hazards Center and the Clearinghouse. I think many of you know that NSF has a special funding mechanism for situations where if you don't get into the field quickly, the scientific opportunity might be lost. And disasters often present this kind of situation. So these are called rapid proposals. And I put the link to the specific spot in NSF's guidance where you can find it's short but complete. You can find the guidance related to rapids. So the idea with a rapid proposal is you would write to a program officer in a program that you think might be relevant and interested in your research question. So it might be decision risk and management science in social behavioral and economic sciences, or sociology, they often have interest. It might be humans, disasters, and the built environment in the engineering directorate. You may have programs that you think would have interest in size or even education. Funds rapids related to disasters if your research is relevant to something they think is important. So with rapids, the requirements are less than with a regular proposal because everything has to happen quickly. So if the idea is if you don't get out there into the environment right now, you won't be able to gather data. The data will degrade, memories will fade, someone will paint over the watermarks. So the only way the research will happen is quickly. For this reason, our lawyers allow us to entertain much shorter proposals, 5-page proposals, and do internal review only before deciding whether to fund. So you have to send that program officer you think might have interest a 1 to 2 page inquiry letter explaining here's the research question, here's why the data is ephemeral, right? Here's why it would be valuable. If they think it's interesting enough, they can invite the 5-pager, and then they will typically share that with other program officers for internal review. So there's step one. Write your program officers, say, I have this idea. If you already have the 1-pager done, that shows seriousness of purpose. So you'll want to have your 1 to 2-pager ready, and then proceed from there. A rapid can be up to $200,000 for 1 year. So the idea is for the work to be short. Eventually, we would want to see that that data was useful to other researchers, or that you developed a regular proposal to build on the data that you were able to gather with your rapid. Okay. The other thing you want to keep in mind in terms of NSF opportunities is all of our programs that solicit unsolicited research ideas. So the programs that I mentioned are all standing programs, such that if you have an idea that's relevant to that general area of interest, you can send in a research proposal in the disaster field. And some of you who are getting funds from the Natural Hazard Center may gather some data and eventually find that that data sets you up for a regular research proposal, right? So you want to think about this lifeline of your work so that it can have maximum impact. Remember that we're there. If you have questions about any of this, you can always write to me. I will put my email into the chat to follow on the rapid guidance. And I hope that's enough to get you all started.
Nice. Thank you so much, Jack, and thank you for sharing your email and the link. And thanks to those who have been putting questions in the chat. How we're going to proceed now for about the next 10 minutes. I'm going to work through the chat and actually call on you to ask your questions. So Corey, if you could be coming off mute to ask the question that you asked. So I'll go through the chat first, and then also if you want to use the raise hand function, then I'll move over to those who raise their hand if you don't want to put it in the chat. So Corey, could you kick us off with your question first, please, for Gina, Jen, and or Jack?
It was for Gina, and the question was just that you were talking about this pilot data that you were thinking about, and I was just trying to understand, is the pilot data, is it just the methodology you plan on sharing, or is this going to be something that, say, we could, once you all collect it, it would be available for more group related research or something like that? I just wasn't quite clear. If you could give more details, that would be helpful.
Sure, my apologies for not being clear. So part of the call requirement is that everyone use a few of these baseline questions. And the additional requirement is for people to publish their data as part of this award. By doing so collectively as a group, we're sharing that data in Design Safe, thereby creating a public resource of data. So not only would it be useful to NOAA as a program evaluation tool to combine that data, but it also becomes that public good now for research data uses as well. I hope that clarifies.
Just to follow, I mean, yes, very much so, but just to follow up real quick, does that mean that the pilot, is it already, I guess I might have missed part of it, is the pilot already awarded and this is available for, at this point, or, or is that an upcoming thing?
Sure, the instrument has been made. Dr. Kim Klocka and her team designed the instrument. This tornado call that we are waiting to see who will apply. You all are our pilot. So the pilot has yet to occur. This call initiated that effort. And I'm sorry, my laptop is doing some kind of update, so I'm sorry if I'm coming in and out.
Gina, you sounded great, and Corey, it was a great question or set of questions. And to be clear, that survey instrument, if you go to the special call page, the survey instrument is currently linked out as a PDF, but Kim is working with Maria and Design Safe to get it published on Design Safe with a permanent digital object identifier. So the survey instrument will be up there. And then again, the data will be published as a requirement of this award on Design Safe, the data collected through the short survey instrument. Thank you, Corey. And Kevin, I'm going to turn to you next with the next question that's for Jennifer.
So Jennifer answered in the chat, but I asked if it's okay for grad students or postdocs or anyone at a university doesn't have a faculty appointment to be the lead investigator.
Yes, and I already answered, but I will elaborate a little bit more on that. So we love when graduate students apply to collaborate and or lead projects. And so the only thing that we require from graduate students is if you are applying to be a lead on a project, that you have a letter from your advisor stating that they support your lead investigation and that you are capable of completing your graduate studies alongside taking on a big research project.
Nice. Thank you, Kevin, for the question. And next I see our first hand up, and I apologize if I mispronounce the name, but on Dewase, would you go ahead and come off mute and ask your question? Maybe.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. We can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot. The pronunciation is quite okay. I am working on climate change, mapping climate change and livelihood impacts in Nigeria. And from the background that you gave, the researcher must be based in US, and I don't really know how I will get along, how I can also benefit from this grants or support you are giving on climate change. So that's my concern, because from the geographical point of view, I'm not really captured, but I have an idea. I'm really working on something, impacts on livelihoods in northern Nigeria. So that's my question. Thank you.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for joining us from Nigeria, and thank you for the work that you are doing. And one thing about all of our 4 award programs that we have through the Natural Hazard Center, one of the requirements is that the lead researcher must be based at a US-based institution of higher education. And that has to do with where our funding streams and how our funding streams operate. But we also do have the opportunity where once the lead is established, that collaborators from outside of the US can be added to proposals. And so I think that's a real opportunity for the kind of cross-national collaboration that you're referring to here. And so thank you so much again for joining us. And I know Jen or I would be so happy to answer any further questions via email about this and about sparking those kinds of collaborations. So thank you again for being here. And in the interest of time, we're going to turn over to a question that John put in the chat, and then Craig, I'll turn to you next. So John, would you come off mute and ask your question, please?
Is that me, John Mathias?
This is, thank you.
Okay. So I was just asking, is there any way to know whether an award maybe has already been given after a particular tornado event to collect using the survey instrument, just to avoid kind of being redundant in applying to do something that someone else has already done?
Jen, thank you, John.
Yes, thank you for that question, John. We have absolutely considered this, and we are one of our highest priorities is making sure that we're conducting ethical research and that we're not asking the same questions of the same people over and over again. And so as part of your research proposal on this online submission form, we do ask specifically who you're going to be asking questions to, what cities you're going to be working in and such, so because we aren't going to fund overlapping studies in the same exact location.
Is there a way for us to know kind of what has already, so we can kind of, in designing our study, we can avoid overlap with what's kind of already been awarded and everything?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
feel free at any point to email me if you're considering submitting a proposal. You can email me and say, hey, have you gotten a submission on this, in this area for this population? And I'd be happy to convey that information to you, but we don't know until we get the submission, so.
Sure, of course. Thank you.
Yes, and John, thank you for the question. And just to be clear too, as soon as these awards are made, so if you go to, for example, the Weather Ready Research Award Program, this Hazard Center, we release news articles. We keep a list of all of the awardees with abstracts of their awards on the website. And so that's another way, say that it's 5 months from now and a tornado happens and you want to go to the website to see what was already funded through this program, that will be live on the awardees, the award recipients and their abstracts will be live on the website. So yeah, great question, John. Thank you. And I'm actually going to turn to Jason next because I think it fits with this thread very closely. And then Craig, I'll turn to you next. So Jason, do you want to come off mute and ask your question? If Jason's still on here.
I'm sorry about that. I had
There we go.
weird connection issues there. So on the logistics side of it, the grants are supposed to support the new instrument getting out in the field. There is now already another team fielding the survey. Is that correct?
Gina, do you want to take that one?
I think, okay, I'm trying to get clarification from a colleague. Do you mean an NWS service assessment or NWS post tornado assessment?
Oh, so in the call, everyone was asked to use that common bank of questions. And I just thought to check and make sure that there's not already a team doing a large scale study. Again, like what was mentioned with John, of not wanting to step on a different team and whatnot.
I can certainly, I don't speak directly for the National Weather Service. I can certainly speak with them and see if they are doing something large scale. What I can say is that right after an event, I mean, literally the days after, the local weather service offices will go in and do a very, as thorough as they can be, but quickly damage assessment to make a determination on the strength of a tornado. Part of the idea of this instrument as part of a pilot is for those forecasters who happen to talk to people during that process to ask those instrument questions of those individuals that they may meet along the way. I am not aware at this particular time of something more large scale, but I will certainly follow up with the National Weather Service and coordinate in collaboration with Kim, of course, as well as Jennifer and Lori, to make sure that we're communicating with all of you and staying as coordinated as possible.
Thank you so much.
Just to reiterate, Jason, what I just told to the previous question is we post those online, like Lori was saying. We have a list of funded research projects, but also as you're going to submit a proposal, feel free to email me directly, and I'd be happy to let you know if we are already funding research in that particular area for those people that you want to study as part of your population.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. And Jason, I was going to say too, that's part of the review process where we would capture that, right? So if two researchers came in and they both said they wanted to study the exact same populations, that they were both saying, we want to study workers at the Amazon plant that was destroyed in the December tornado outbreak, we would also catch that at the review stage to try to reduce that duplication of effort that we're hearing about here on that call. So really thank you for these questions. And we're going to take one more question, and then we're going to turn to part two of this virtual forum. And so Craig, last question is yours.
I'm Craig, and I've been working for my doctoral dissertation on trying to figure out how to do storm sheltering options and if we need more storm shelters. I noticed in the areas affected back on December 10th, there weren't very many of them. Would it be helpful to have more in the way of like public high-end storm shelters or installation in private homes?
So thank you for that question, Craig. And one thing I'll echo what Jen had noted earlier on the special call page. There are a number of priority research areas. We don't want to foreclose any fabulous ideas because we want to have the best science, the best research questions come in. But there are some additional priority research areas that have been established between the NOAA and Natural Hazard Center team. And so you'll find those on the call page. But as Jen has been very generously saying, she welcomes questions like this as well if you want to reach out to her directly to see if that seems like it will fit in the special call. And thanks for the work that you're doing around sheltering. This is really, really critical. So thank you, and thanks for joining us today. And I think that question is a fantastic segue to the latter portion of this virtual forum, which is going to focus specifically on the December 10th through 11th, 2021 tornado outbreak. And one thing that we want to make really clear about this special call is that, as Gina said, while it just so happened that we released this special call for proposals really very soon after the December 10th through 11th tornado outbreak, this special call is not only dedicated to this particular tornado outbreak, but because of its size, scope, scale, and destructiveness, as Jen said, we've extended where we'll accept proposals that are specifically focused on this outbreak up to 90 days post-event. But then we're also looking to see researchers collect data across additional different tornado events over this coming period up through October of 2022. And so now, though, we are going to turn to talk about research that is proposed or has already been launched in response to the December outbreak, which I think everybody on this call is aware was one of the most destructive and deadly tornado outbreaks to ever occur in December in the United States. And right now, more than 80 persons have been verified killed as a result of this tornado event, billions of dollars in damages, and over eight states have been directly affected by the tornadoes that the National Weather Service documented. And so bringing a strong sense of concern for the people who have had their lives upended by this series of tornado events, and bringing a great deal of gratitude to those of you who are on this call today who are interested in potentially investigating some aspects of this event. And so how we are going to proceed now with our remaining minutes is as follows. And so again, just reorienting to what is the purpose around this discussion of this tornado outbreak. We want to hear from the ESSER researchers on this call about if there are particular ethical considerations that are emerging in the directly affected areas, if there are particular research priorities that we've started to hear in the early part of this call that may seem particularly important to the social science community as well as to the interdisciplinary research community. And also we're going to hear about some available resources, and we have some great people on the line today who are going to share about some resources to help facilitate your social science investigations. And so that's really the purpose of this latter part of the forum. The process we're going to follow is as follows. So we're going to start by hearing from locally affected researchers, so people who are living in areas that were directly affected by the tornado outbreak. Then we're going to turn and we're going to hear from researchers who've already launched investigations. Then we're going to hear from researchers with resources to share. And then we're going to hear from researchers who are considering but haven't yet committed, maybe looking for a collaboration in terms of doing research. And so I sent an email out to registrants in advance of this virtual forum and asked for if people wanted to be added to the agenda. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing my screen again so we can see each other. And I'm going to move through first the list of people who wrote back back to my email and said that they would like to be added to the agenda so that they could share resources, research ideas, or research they've already launched. And so I'll start with that list, and then any time remaining is going to be open forum. Again, let's please use the chat box if you have questions or want to connect with folks on the call. And so each of the people who are going to speak now, they only have about a minute or so on the floor, so that we do have time to hear from more voices. But I actually heard from Chad Foster, who's in Kentucky, which many people had really characterized as ground zero for this outbreak. And so Chad, would you like to launch us off with this part of the forum with what you wanted to share about what you're seeing on the ground, research ideas, and so forth? So Chad, would you start us off, please, with a minute or two from you?
Lori, I think that Chad had to leave to go to another meeting.
Oh, okay. Well,
But
Joanne, so would you be willing to
I'm glad
represent?
to share his ideas and thoughts. Having been in this field for well over 40 years, and grown up in Alabama, I've seen an awful lot of tornadoes. This one is just indescribable. The fact that it's a long track, and the fact that it has really raised to the surface the concern and attention that we must pay about failing to do what we should have done decades ago. And that is ensuring that we include the communication in our preparedness steps to mitigate this unbelievable volume of unnecessary, unneeded, and unrequested volunteer assistance. It's back, I can remember having these discussions 30 years ago of it is such a burden to local emergency management, and especially if you're talking about rural areas that do not have infrastructure. So that's one of the topics that Dr. Foster and I are very interested in, because it can literally cripple your response and make recovery impossible. So if anyone needs any formal ball gowns and ties and that kind of stuff, you can always reach out to an area that's been hard hit by a tornado and go in, who sent this stuff and why? So those are our topic areas. And Jennifer, if you don't mind, I'm sure that we will be in touch with you. We can focus this very finally, we can collaborate with other people, but we feel like this conversation has just got to be raised. It's critical. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne, and thank you for raising the material convergence and the convergence of people at the disaster zone as a key area for exploration. And thanks for your offer for being a point of contact there. So thank you. Next, we're going to move, and please thank Chad as well. And I'm sorry that he had to leave, but thank you both. And so now we're going to move over to Grace Yan, who has actually already launched an investigation. And Grace wanted to take a minute or so and share that with the group on the call for your situational awareness about the work that she is doing. And so Grace, are you on here, and can you come off mute and share? Jen, are you? I'm not seeing Grace on here. We may have. Okay, so hopefully if Grace is able to come back on here, we will call on her next to hear from her. And so while we're checking on the status of Grace, who's actually in Missouri, I'm actually going to move ahead then and ask Nicole Arid and Jamie Vickery are here from the University of Washington, and they're actually going to share some slides, and they're doing double duty. And so they're going to take a little more time because they both want to share some resources with those of you on the forum today, and also share about some data that has already been collected through the RAPID facility at the University of Washington. And so Nicole and Jamie, will you take it from here, please?
Thanks so much, Lori. I think Jamie's going to share her screen, and as she does that, We're here from the RAPID facility. For those of you who don't know, the RAPID facility provides investigators with equipment, software, support services, and other advisory and logistical services to collect, process, and analyze perishable data from natural hazards and disaster events. And we're funded by the National Science Foundation to promote reconnaissance-based science, shared resources, open data, interdisciplinary research, community engagement, and innovation to reduce the adverse impacts of natural hazards. We do this by engaging in a variety of activities, including supporting investigators to use our state-of-the-art equipment to collect data. We've developed a mobile application, RAP, to support interdisciplinary field reconnaissance, which Jamie's going to talk to you about in a minute. And we provide advisory and logistical services for investigators, support them in archiving and processing data in Design Safe. We train our users, and we conduct community outreach and education. We have a number of facility resources, including those specifically tailored for social scientists. And you can see the full list here at our website. And we're going to provide these slides and links to Lori to send out for you all to have access to. As it relates to the December 2021 tornadoes, RAPID supported STEER, the Structural Engineering Extreme Event Reconnaissance Network, to collect perishable data following the event. This data includes drone imagery, LiDAR scans, and door-to-door building damage assessments, and it's all publicly available to you and the other researchers on Design Safe. Of particular interest to social scientists, we collected street-level panoramic imaging data similar to Google Street View in several impacted areas. We think this data, viewable publicly on Mapillary, has many potential social science applications, for example, to inform sampling approaches or for adapted photo voice projects. Notably, we are eager to support social scientists to collect additional data using our equipment. So this is the data we've already collected, but we're really eager to collect more and work with you to do that. Jamie, over to you.
Thank you, Nicole. So RAP is another resource and service provided by the RAPID facility that has great potential for use in social science reconnaissance research. It's an iPad app developed for the reconnaissance community that integrates mission planning and coordination, data collection, and data management into a single unified package. And from this app, users can collect questionnaires, checklists, photos, videos, scans, and more. And data is automatically synced to Design Safe. In the near future, we will launch RAP Lite, which is an iPhone app that one will be able to download from the App Store. And similar to the RAP iPad app, it will have a customizable interface and will automatically sync data to Design Safe. Nicole and I are here to support you as you consider the use of equipment and services through the University of Washington RAPID facility for social science research. For example, we provide research proposal support for social science and interdisciplinary research by providing insights as to how RAPID facility services and equipment could be integrated into proposals. And we are in the process now of developing social science use studies of RAPID facility resources. We will also continue to solicit and synthesize feedback from the social science user community for how to improve RAPID equipment and services for social scientists. And our contact information is listed here. And again, we'll share these slides with Lori. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole and Jamie, for sharing with us. And if anyone on the forum has a question for Nicole or Jamie about the RAPID resources, please go ahead and drop that in the chat. And again, they said they'd be happy to be in contact. And I actually just wanted to take 1 minute to share some resources that are available through the Converge facility here at the Natural Hazards Center, and some resources that are of particular interest related to this special funding call. So some of the things you heard at the outset of this forum related to both with the quick response program and, as Jack said, with the NSF RAPID Awards, one of the requirements is that the need to be able to demonstrate that the data that you're trying to collect is perishable. And so I really wanted to point everyone on the call to some of the training modules that we've been developing through the Converge facility. They are available on the Converge website for free, and one of them focuses on perishable data collection. What is perishable data? How do you collect it? Why does it matter in advancing social science and interdisciplinary research? And so I think that training module may be a help to those who are looking to write proposals. And there are several other training modules that we hope can be of help as well, including those focused on vulnerable populations, broader ethical considerations in conducting this kind of disaster research, and so forth. We also, on the Converge website, have a series of extreme events research check sheets that are up there and are short, free, downloadable, and are focus on a variety of different aspects, from the research design to data collection to data sharing phases of extreme events research. And we hope those can be of use to educators, researchers who are new to the field, and others who are looking toward launching new investigations. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen there. And now I'm going to ask Maria Esteva, who's on the call. Maria, would you take 1 minute? We've heard a lot about this design safe. Would you take a minute and explain to everybody, since we're in the resource sharing part of this forum, what is design safe and what can design safe offer to the social science research community?
Sure, I'm going to just briefly share my screen to show you Design Safe. And Design Safe is a platform that has many functions. It's basically an end-to-end data management platform where you can upload your data, manage your data, publish your data, and also reuse your data using the workspace and a series of tools that work on the cloud. But specifically, I would say that for you to start learning about Design Safe, being just because of the fact that you will have to publish the data that you obtain from your instruments in Design Safe, my advice in this minute would be to go to user guides, help user guides, start looking into the curation and publishing projects, and also managing data here. Data Depot is first line here. You have all these resources for you to understand how you can get started using Design Safe. I would ask you to get an account no matter what, whether you have been awarded or not, just get acquainted. There's a data management plan guidance that you may use to make your proposal if you need. And also once you get awarded, get started and start uploading and sharing your data with your colleagues from your team ASAP, immediately. So there you have a private space where you can start putting all the data that you will be gathering in the field, or even your planning documents, and then think about how you will curate and publish. By that time, you will probably have had a meeting with me. You can, come to my virtual office hours twice a week. You can go to Slack. You can read all this documentation, so you will be fully aware of how you have to proceed to curate your data. But I would suggest you get started and use these instead of using Google Docs. Just use Design Safe to start uploading and sharing your data. I think
Maria,
that's it.
Thank you so much. And just one thing for everybody who's applying for the special funding call, if you got nervous at all about the requirement of publishing the data that you collect through the NOAA survey instrument, Maria is extraordinary, and please know that we have lots of resources on the Converge website through our Publish Your Data events to help walk you through this process, but Maria is the best person you can possibly know. So we're glad you're getting this introduction here, and again, you will receive the support you need to make sure that you can publish the data. And Maria, you'll see Jack put a really good question for you in the chat that you may want to answer in the chat, and if we have time at the end, I'm going to call on you to answer it because it's a really good question. But in the interest of time, we have one more person who signed up before we open this up a bit. Sarah Jackson is actually considering launching a study. She's currently at the University of South Carolina, but also in some ways we should really be considering her a locally affected researcher because she is from one of the areas that was hardest hit in the tornado outbreak. And so Sarah, would you go ahead and introduce yourself and share what you wanted to share with those on the forum? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that intro. Yeah, I'm a PhD student at the University of South Carolina, but I'm originally from Madison County, Illinois, where the Amazon warehouse was hit, and I lived there for 28 years. So it is more of a close to home event. And I went home over break for Christmas and took tons of pictures of the damage and drove around and collected all the local newspapers of what had happened. And so I was interested in that in a way, but I had already written my dissertation proposal in November to study tornado risk perception and protective action behavior. So this kind of fits in, but I'm working on my own survey. So I'm kind of somewhere in between where, you know, I am interested in this event as part of a case study for my proposal, and having that local knowledge and, you know, all my friends and family being there and have that connectedness to it, that I can kind of, I want to do something with it, but I'm not really sure where to go because of the rapid call for the event from you guys using your specific survey. That would be a little bit different than what I would be looking at. This would kind of be a supplementary to my existing dissertation research. So I think I'm more open to working with others or doing some sort of collaborative work where my knowledge and skills with what I do could fit into some other type of project that is more aligned with your guys' call for proposals. So yeah.
Nice. Thank you, Sarah. And that actually reminds me of something that Jen and I had really wanted to say related to the survey instrument. Again, we hope you will all go and look at the NOAA survey instrument on our website. It is a relatively short instrument. And so one of the things, like Jen noted, we're really hoping for in this call is that people will both deploy the survey instrument in their research, but also will pursue novel research topics. And so it's that chance for both and rather than either or. And so Sarah, that was absolutely fantastic. And I already saw that somebody put in the chat, Craig said that the work you're doing is very similar to what he's doing. And that's one of the hopes for these forums, is we can start connecting people to each other who have similar interests and a desire to collaborate. And so with that, we've covered a lot of ground today during this forum. We did two things, looked at the special call, also have dedicated a bit of time to talking about the December 10th through 11th tornado outbreak. With our remaining time, does anyone have any comments or questions? If you do, would you either drop those in the chat if you want to talk, or put your hand up with the raised hand function if anyone has anything they want to share, ask, or say in these remaining minutes. And Corey, thank you for being here. Oh, Christopher.
Just a kind of an interesting opportunity / moment to put in the chat of this discussion. So I'm working with Julie Demuth and Ann Bostrom, working on the AI2ES projects of interviewing forecasters, and we had an interview, and Mariana Keynes, we think, is also on this call. We're doing an interview with forecasters, and we had scheduled one for someone who was in the impacted area, like their WFO was, and we ended up pushing it back and talking to them right before the holidays. And was interested in, like, their office really wanted to know if people were doing, what worked well for communication. Like, what are the successful stories? I have this list of ones that are growing. Like, what did we do well? There's a lot of emphasis on what didn't go well, but there's all these communication success stories of, like, an influencer who had done the storm spotter training and then got their whole neighborhood to leave and post on Facebook and stuff. It's like, how do we capture those? I was interested if anyone was working on that or had done things similar to that. And so I can just leave that. I can bow out and go to the chat after this, but just planting that seed.
Thank you, Christopher. We never know where it's going to grow. So thank you for planting the seed. And again, if anybody's interested in following up or has something similar, please do share that with Christopher in the chat. So everyone, I know we're close to our ending time right now. And so I just want to, again, thank everyone who logged on today. A special thanks to NOAA and the National Science Foundation for the support and vision and for being here today with us. Thank you to all of the researchers who are out there who just came to learn more and are contemplating studies or are already doing work. And we hope that you will consider applying for the special call, and a special thanks to Jennifer Tobin, who has already fielded many questions related to the special call. And again, is here ready to answer your questions as you consider moving forward. And last but not least, thanks to those of you locally affected researchers who are here and others who are already doing work in this space. And we really look forward to learning from you. And so with that, thank you, everyone. We hope you have a good and safe rest of your day, and we'll look forward to hearing from you after this. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jack.
Gina, thanks for supporting all this work.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.